Well, do you have foods that you automatically turn to when you're angry, you're upset, or you're sad? How about foods that you can't stop eating once you start? They're called fruit and nut bars. Some uncomfortable questions, so we've brought in registered dietitian Andrea Hallwegner to help us break through the myths. When you come, Andrea, you set up a beautiful table of healthy grains and greens, and you motivate us all. And today you've just brought in like I could just stick my face into all of those
There's just so
foods,
much
right?
delicious aromas coming here.
So much deliciousness right here. You know, and they're not bad foods, but we need to use them responsibly, and that's what we wanted to talk about. Can we be addicted to chocolate?
You know what? Often people do ask us, can you be addicted to food or sugar? And the short answer to that question is no. So food is very, very different than when we look at something like drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
First of all, the core premise is we need food to live.
Right.
Whereas we don't need drugs and alcohol to live. So what we find is that trying to totally go into completely removing enjoyable foods that you might struggle over consuming at times with usually will trigger more consumption of that particular
So you're doing
food.
yourself no favors. You're actually getting yourself into more trouble. Is it really learning to look at the big picture and be responsible and in making better choices?
Well, it's a combination. There's a lot of psychology going on here.
Yes.
So, of course, when we look at where the similarities of more addictive-like behavior comes from, often we're looking at a couple of things. So from the dietitian standpoint, we're really helping people make sure that they're getting good overall nourishment. Because if you deprive yourself of calories, if you deprive yourself of chocolate, if you love chocolate or potato chips, what we end up finding is you'll do that for a little bit, but then overconsumption almost always happens. And so our goal is really to teach people about how to enjoy both healthful living and soulful living. And then, of course, with the psychologists that we're collaborating with, working through binge eating disorder, we know recovery from that is possible. And so just having the right team in place to really put those pieces together is so key.
Can we just talk about the difference between binge eating as an eating disorder and binge eating as going in for this size bowl of potato chips?
You bet. I know sometimes people think, you know, I'm only allowed to have like this little handful of chips and then anything else is considered binging, which of course is not. And so when we talk about binge eating disorder, we're talking about much more almost massive volumes of food to the point of real physical discomfort and really stuffing emotion. So stuffing uncomfortable emotion always as sort of your go-to food thing. So we all emotionally eat sometimes. Even dietitians, it's sometimes we're feeling sad or angry, and the point is we've got to find the gray, and that's what makes food so difficult. Having worked with people with eating disorders that have also recovered from addiction issues, whether that's drugs or alcohol, they will tell you sometimes the food part is far more hard than actually recovering from alcoholism, for example. And that is because it's always gray. We make so many different food decisions throughout our day, but the key is absolutely using food in a more comfortable way is totally possible. And that's one of the big differences, I think, when we think about an addiction-based 12-step program and trying to apply that to food. The research doesn't support that that's the most effective way to recover from emotional-based eating or binge eating disorder. And that's because a total abstinence model really doesn't suggest that you could ever have control or ever recover from this. And we know the research does support, and I've seen it firsthand in our practice, you can actually recover and use food in a more just responsible, healthy way.
A healthful and a soulful way, because sometimes those cookies are going to feed your soul in that minute. Right? The idea, though, is that you do it mindfully and you do it as part of an overall healthy nutritional program so that you're getting the nutrients you need without denying yourself. Yes. Lots of questions surrounding this one. Thanks for bringing up the conversation.
Thank you.
Andrea Hallwegner. You can reach her at andrea@healthstandnutrition.com. Lots of information on her website as well.